Hi, good afternoon, and thank you everybody for tuning in. Much appreciated. Alongside, as all of you know, my colleague Jan from New York City Saves Money
Hey,
is
Steve.
here. Hey, Jan. Well, I guess what we'll do is just have a little chit chat. Is there anything that you might want to bring up or talk about?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. Steve, hi everybody. Nice to be here. I guess you might have noticed something a little differently today. Um, there's no premier chat below us. And there's no premier chat below us because Steve and even myself, we have had a problem sometimes where people who want to have the live chat, their comments are not getting through. And that has nothing to do with the content creator, but it's a platform issue. And it occurs every now and then. And it could be frustrating for the viewer. And it could be definitely frustrating for the video content creator because it's one of those situations that's out of our hands. So then rather than struggle with that, we decided this week that at the end of the day, at least for this week, we'll see what happens in the future, right, Steve? About omitting the premiere, the live chat. We're sorry about that because ourselves, we both got used to having you guys with us at every 1:30 on a Saturday afternoon. But we want to see what goes, and who knows, maybe in the future the technical problem will clear up. So, Steve, that's one of the things I thought it important to mention to our viewers. And the other thing that I don't know, on one of my recent videos, I mentioned the importance of drawing boundary lines and saying no. Steve, sometimes saying no is not a simple thing. And I could, right? Am I right or what?
It's not. No.
No. I actually had to teach myself because I was always like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Even if in the heart of my heart of hearts, I really didn't want to do that thing. Sometimes overtly saying yes to things can actually not just cost you your time, your effort, and energy, it might even actually cost you money, hard earned money that you might need to reallocate for other far more important things. But for now, I can just add a suggestion, Steve. If you're used to constantly saying yes, even though you really don't want to say yes, you have to practice with at least one no. You know what, Steve? I had three separate instances this very week in the last 7-day period. I said, boy, people are going to say, boy, she says no a lot. Well, I can't help that. There were three specific instances where I had to turn down various people for various things. But tip number one, Steve, even if you say no, there's no reason on God's green earth why we can't remain polite while we say no. There's no reason to be rude, or offensive or anything like that. Saying no can still be a polite issue. Okay, so I remained polite. The three separate individuals were like totally okay about it, and that's it. Life goes on. Let Steve know in his comment section below how you feel, or do you still need practice saying no, or you getting better at it, or use it when you have to regularly without an issue? Because even myself, I'll be checking on the comments too, just for the heck of it on this channel to see. Steve, what are your thoughts about boundary lines and about having to say no when you have to say no? Do you have any opinion on that?
Whoops. Um, well, we've all been put in a position. I'm pretty sure, um, what I don't like. Maybe I should approach it this way. I'm not saying everybody, but most people, I'll just say it this way. Most people, after a certain amount of time, they could be taking your kindness for weakness. And that's what you have to be careful for. Um, I did have this one person, and in the beginning, eh, maybe a couple of times, maybe three at most, I decided to be of help. I'm Mr. Nice Guy over here, very polite, old soul. I do believe in old-fashioned qualities, help your fellow man type. Okay. Well, after the third time, then the person who wanted to ask me for help, it's like he expected me to do it. Well, that's where I jump in and I say, okay, asking me is one thing, but if you demand me to do something, that will not fly. That
No.
is not going to happen. There is a certain way that you need to approach me, but you do not demand me to do anything. If you
No.
demand me to do something, we're going to have a little problem. And that's where I spoke up and I said, no. I said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I said, I'm busy doing such and such, you know. And then one other time, again, kindness for weakness, I said, look, I said, you're older than me. I said, even though age has nothing to do with it, I said, you're a mature person. I said, you can handle it yourself. So
Absolutely.
after that, thank you, thank you, thank you. I was no longer approached to be asked. And, but I did my part. I did, a couple of three times. You know,
Right.
I helped the person figure out what they needed to figure out. And if you're a quick study, you'll pick up on it. If you're not, well, that's not my fault. I can't help you there. But I said, no. I said, I can't be at your beck and call. I just can't do it. No. People, like in your case, no, they need to just focus on themselves. And, they can always ask a family member for help because if you never ask, you'll never have your answer. You can't just sit there, and this is a word I have not used in eons. It actually goes back to junior high school. You cannot osmosisly, which means it'll come to you, um, to figure out how to do something. No, you
Right.
have to use this right here. You
Right.
have vocal cords. Could you help me? That's all it takes. I need to do whatever it is that you need to have done. But
Right.
unless you speak up,
At some point, you have to speak up. Now, there are
yeah,
various situations. Sometimes it's in the form of like a physical favor to, like, let's say, type up somebody's report, or bake a cake. I mean, once in a while, on occasion, fine, fine. But then some people also branch it out to lending them money. Whoa! Now we're crossing another
uh-huh,
turf. I had mentioned this several times on my channel.
yeah,
And by the way, I have a show Monday through Friday, an audio show, just mentioning it. The Instant Coffee with Jan show comes up every morning, 5 a.m. Eastern.
mhm,
And we talk about various topics. I talk about various topics, rather. And of course, my wonderful viewers and comments come in. We interact on that. And many times I had mentioned on my channel, Steve, that I hate to bring this up, but there was a former coworker of mine, and this is way back in the 80s. And on a regular basis, Steve, she wanted to borrow 20, 20, 20, always right before payday, always like a week before payday. And, when you're young in your 80s, and I was in my 20s, and raising my
yeah.
daughter, and all that. And back then, we did the math. Was that what you and I, Steve? We did the math that $20 is worth how much? 50 today?
Well, based on the year that this took place, I think you said it was right around 1986, 87. To give you a ballpark idea, because I think it's right around 50, $52 in today's money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not Rockefeller over here,
Yeah.
a New Yorker, paying bills like everybody else, or raising a young daughter at the time, and despite what people might think, Okay, parochial school now city school teachers make their own set monies. Parochial school teachers make far less money. Okay, so everybody thinks, oh, teachers make a lot of money. Nah, not true. Okay, maybe the
No.
city ones do, maybe, and that's a maybe. I really don't know. But the private parochial schools, Catholic schools, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this person, every single right before payday. So two lessons I learned. That was when first learned my lesson of saying no. So this was going on all the time until one day my daughter was looking at a glass jar with a $20 bill, and she was a little girl. She says, "Ma, how come you're keeping a $20 bill in a glass jar?" She found it humorous. And if you think about it, it does look humorous when it's in your cupboard, a glass jar with a $20 bill in it, right?
Hmm.
So I said, well, I keep that there for emergencies, but I really kept it there for the same person that kept borrowing that same money every
Hmm.
single paycheck. At that time was like really like trying to squeeze like blood from a stone, like, like spending $30 a week on groceries. And for me, every little penny counted because, you're precise with things like that. So for
Yeah.
me, it was a sacrifice, Steve, till one day I had it when someone brought to my attention that this person who was borrowing 20s, acting like they needed it like vitally, was actually spending the 20s that really equal 50 by today's standards. And what were they doing? Going to the movies and buying popcorn.
Oh.
So when I heard that, that did it for me.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
right. That was the motivation. I says, let's have a cup of coffee after school. She's like, oh, okay. I said, I'll treat. Okay. I sat down with her. I said,
Yeah.
I love you, but this has got to stop. She says, what are you talking about? I said this every single monthly episode of it's almost payday. Back in the day, we only got paid twice a month, like the 15th and the 30th. So we really had to be very careful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was tough. So she was like, huh? So, yeah, and all. I faced it. It was not easy. I was in my 20s. She was significantly older than me. She should know better how to handle money, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Somebody in their 20s versus 40 something year old. Okay.
Hmm.
They're mentally much more mature. Okay. But it turned out that I was the one that ended up being more mature. But I had to learn how to say no. That was the best lesson for me. I carried it over into my future adult life. So I guess that's like what we're talking about today. Even though if it's hard, sometimes you have to say no.
Yeah. Because back in the 80s, of course, that's my preteen, teenage years. My father and I, we did frequent the movies a lot back then. And, well, there were a lot of good movies out back in the 1980s. I'll vouch for that for sure.
Yes.
Um, but 20 bucks would definitely get you in the movies. You could purchase a drink,
Yeah.
a popcorn, and even some type of candy to go with it.
Yeah.
That
So
I do
I'm
know.
I'm giving up grocery money because it was precise, raising my daughter, wanting to make ends meet, having to have my, school fare to get to school,
Hmm.
blah blah blah. And I'm like, wait a minute. And we catch you going into that theater every time. I thought you were broke. Some
Yeah.
people have Steve, some people have a warped idea of broke. There's two kinds of broke, Steve. Broke, some people feel, oh, I'm broke. What they really mean is they have no money in their wallet, but all they have to do is go over to their local ATM and replenish. That's not real broke. Broke is when you're down to nothing and that's it. And like you have $5 left till payday. So
Right.
her doing that was money mismanagement versus someone who counted every penny to make sure do the responsible thing. It was almost like an insult in a way.
Hmm.
It's one thing to do once in a while to be a kind person, and I'm not saying don't be kind, but don't take advantage of people's niceness.
Oh no, absolutely not. Like I was, mentioning a few minutes ago. I'll tell you another little story here that happened. This was back in 2017, I believe it was. This, so I thought, friend, but no longer a friend. Um, Good riddance. Glad that this person's not around. Um, They wanted to borrow money from me. Apparently, this money was to buy a prescription for this man's wife. So I thought. And I guess it was a couple weeks later, maybe. I'm on this social media that starts with an F. Perhaps y'all know it. 8 letters, ends with a K. The guy decides to go live with his wife at a Jacksonville Jaguars football game. Now let's think about that. He borrowed money from me, and about 10, 12 days later, he's at a football game. So we know where my money went. So I do understand in your case what you went through with that lady
Yes.
that liked going to the movie theater when she, on her own right's mind, had the money to do it on her own. Why is she coming to you, a single mom, trying to make ends meet? Because back then, minimum wage in 86, 87 was right around 3.35 an hour. I remember pretty vivid about that. Um, but even back then, even though people had less money to operate on, it was just as hard, if not harder, I think.
Can I tell you? I use the envelope system. In case for those that are unfamiliar, and to this minute, I still like to use the envelope system. I know we're in modern times and technology. I like separating certain things into categories and physically seeing it. This stems back from those days. I was literally, Steve, watching every penny, make sure I had my rent money, make sure I had my
Hmm.
gas and electric money,
Yeah.
everything, so I would never default. I never wanted to default on important stuff. My grocery money. You're raising a kid, you got to have groceries. Even if you want to do something without for yourself, you can live with that. But not when children are involved. Once
Oh,
you
I
have
know.
children, right?
Yeah.
Once you have children, it's another ball game. It's another world. You have to be a
Oh, it is.
responsible
Yeah.
person.
Hmm.
And then to only have someone who's only worried about their own selfish needs to be met. No, what my daughter and I used to do to save money instead of going to the movies, we go to the local video store and rent the tape.
Oh, yeah. That's back in the day when if you wanted to rent a movie, because that was pre DVD.
Yes.
So back then, you wanted to rent a movie, you went to the video store and you rented one of two. You either rented VHS or you rented Beta. I personally preferred Beta, but that's just me. I thought Beta had a better
Quality.
quality resolution, although it was a shorter lived technology. But no, but back then, back in the 80s, no, you had VCR. That's
Right.
it.
So why is
And
it okay for us to do VCR? I'm sorry I interrupted you,
it's
Steve. Go
okay.
ahead.
No, what I was just going to say on closing is that yeah, back then it was VCR. If you didn't have a VCR to play at home to watch your movies, you could actually rent them at the video store a lot of the time.
Right.
So much per day, you
Right.
know, but always make sure, and I do remember this, I'm going to throw something in about the VCR tape. Make sure you rewind that tape or they're going to charge you a fee.
Rewind so you be kind.
That's it. That's the one. That's the one, right. So I
Our
know.
big day was to take a walk on a rainy Saturday afternoon. My little girl and I, we'd pick out whatever she wants. She always seemed to want that never-ending story, and of course, Pee Wee's Big Adventure. I must have watched that 1,000.
Oh, those were okay. The Never Ending Story, that's a good movie. The song to the movie is
Yeah.
good as well. Remember, when it comes to music, I am a big soundtrack person, but
Yes.
um Pee-wee's Big Adventure, oh yeah. Yeah, I had my share of Pee-wee, and we all know what happened to Pee-wee and what got him thrown off the air, but we won't go there. That's
We
a
we
little.
we didn't know, we didn't expect anything like that. The funny
No.
part was that large Marge, thing, and my daughter kept playing it over and over to freak me. She did to freak me. It worked.
Mommy, go back. Mommy, go
Yeah.
back. Large
"This is
Marge, yeah.
funny, Mom. This is funny." I'm freaking out. She's like, "But this is so funny." But the thing is, we managed to find a way, Steve, to have fun, economize. My daughter didn't know we were being economical. All she knew was we were having fun. And but no, that wasn't good enough for this other person. That person had to get to the movie, the one that just came out, where I
Right.
could wait a half a year, or a year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I mean, well, back then, I do know this as a fact. Back in the 1980s, movies actually stayed at the theater much longer than they do now. Now, you have a movie that come out in January, let's just use this as an example. By March or April, you're able to get it.
It's the truth.
So, honestly, in my estimation, you're kind of wasting your money to go to the movies because a lot of the time people have decent sized televisions, 43-inch or above or whatever.
Yes.
They got a nice sound system to where they can watch it, or even if you have the regular speakers off the TV, a lot of the time you can just, you have apps and things where you can go and pull up movies and watch it in right from the comfort of your own home and not have to spend 50, $75 these days to go to, well, probably closer to
It's a
75, but
different world today. It is such a different world.
it is. Yeah.
On this very platform that you're viewing us right now, literally 9 out of 10, you might find some old TV shows that you miss. Steve and I, we were in the green room talking about that earlier before we went on the air here. We talking about like
That's right.
certain shows that we enjoyed from back in the day. You could actually just find them. Just ask YouTube if it's available, and you might get them for free.
Yeah, the matter of fact, it was last weekend and I'm on YouTube. Now, remember, even though I create videos, when I'm not creating a video, I'm just like the rest of you. I'm also a subscriber to people's channels and I'm also an onlooker. So speaking of the 1980s, so I happen to be sitting, I said, what could I look up on YouTube? I said, I want to look up a TV show I haven't seen in a very long time. Kate and Allie, Susan St. James and Jane Curtin. That was a pretty good TV show because back on Monday nights,
Nice.
CBS at 8 o'clock, I still remember because I used to like that Monday night lineup on CBS back in those days. A lot of good shows. So I put it on, and you can actually set it up on YouTube if you have it in. I don't know if it's autoplay or whatever feature. You can actually set it up to where it'll play multiple episodes. When it goes out of one, it'll go into another, and then after that one, it'll go into the next, and so on and so on. So I must have watched about 3 hours worth of Kate and Allie.
I would say that's a great amount of good entertainment.
Right, and considering that each episode, without commercials, mind you, run about 25 minutes apiece.
Oh.
So yeah, yeah, don't ever deceive yourself on YouTube. There is a lot of things that you can go on there, type in, and pull up. Okay, so you might have some ads. Big deal.
Big deal. We
But
always had ads when we watched TV.
you
What's
did.
the big deal? I want to address that for a second, Steve, if you don't mind. I will never understand some people today. Okay. I'm just saying this. All right. All our life, turn on the TV, there are ads. No big deal. You live with it. You get up, you make a drink, go to the bathroom, make that short phone call. No big deal. All of a sudden, on certain other places, I have to live through that 10-second moment. I'm like, what? Really?
Guess what? I just realized something that I was talking to a friend of mine with the other day. If you're at the movie theater and you have to use the restroom, you have to get up out of your seat, walk to the end of your row, go down, and go around and go out into the bathroom. You're probably going to lose a good 10 minutes of viewing time, to
Right.
go to the restroom, then turn around and come back. If you're watching the same movie in the comfort of your own home, you can actually pause it.
Good point. I didn't even think of that, Steve.
You can actually pause it right there, go to your kitchen, step to the restroom, make a sandwich, fix whatever snack you want, come back, go back and resume.
We are so spoiled these days, I have to say.
But back then, if you went to the bathroom, you were pretty much out of luck.
Right.
So,
And I just want to say one more thing in closing. You know, people that do certain platforms, they work really hard to create an idea. It may not look hard to the viewer because they're only seeing a few minutes of someone's time. They think, oh, you just turn on the thing and there's no effort. That's not true. The person has to pre-plan it. The person has to get lighting together. They have to get their broadcast studio in the right
mhm.
way. They have to add banners, whatever it is, whatever it is. Or people that go outside use special cameras and stuff like that. Is it so hard to take that 10 seconds in lieu of helping the content creator? That's all I'm saying. I say
Mhm.
no more, but I ask myself, is it so hard?
No, not at
Now,
all. Not at all. In fact, it only takes what? Not even a couple of minutes to do.
that's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank you. You know,
Thank
you know,
you.
you're welcome. And you guys know us, pretty well. And I'm glad that we could meet up as always at 1:30 every Saturday like clockwork. It's kind of like a TV show that's got a set, where it's at. So we're kind of like in the same league as that. But I'm glad all of you could tune in and be on the lookout on Tuesday. I'm reverting back to recipe Tuesday. I'm going to do a recipe. The last one was tips and a recipe, but I think I'm just going to do a regular recipe for Tuesday. I haven't found, what I want to do, whether it's going to be an entree or a dessert or an appetizer or a drink. I don't know yet, but I'll come up with something. So be on the lookout for that. All right. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day.
Thanks for spending time with both of
Oh,
us.
absolutely. We'd certainly appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you back here uh, on Tuesday morning.
Bye bye.
Bye.